it's time.
Are you having a hard time deciding whether you want to watch movies, binge anime, or listen to K-pop? Well, you're in luck because Sony Pictures Animation has once again blessed us with absolute peak in K-pop Demon Hunters. And it's as every bit as fun as that title makes it sound. So today we're ranking all the characters from good to evil. Now let us show you how it's done, starting with the good. And since all the heroes do some serious good, it was a bit tough to pick the gold medalist, but in the end, we think the main heroine, Rumi, deserves that honor. Rumi is the most level-headed and devoted of the main trio. At first, this doesn't seem like an entirely good thing, especially when she ends her friend's much-needed break by pushing their new single's release before they'd even had a minute on their beloved couch. That said, it's revealed that Rumi does this with very good reason. You see, there's this little tiny, almost not worth mentioning issue of Rumi being part demon. When it comes time for Huntrix to create the Golden Hanmoon, an impenetrable fortress that will keep demons from the world for good, Rumi is eager to do this as quickly as possible so she can be rid of her demon patterns. We could take points away from her for keeping the secret from her friends, but if anything, having to bear such a heavy burden makes her determination to seal the Hanmoon even more admirable. Rumi's also deeply compassionate towards others, from almost instantly connecting with Jinu's tiger to offering Bobby the vacation he bought for Huntrix, and ultimately showing sympathy to Jinu despite his past sins, giving him the first semblance of humanity he'd felt in hundreds of years. In the end, Rumi learns that strength doesn't mean hiding all your weaknesses, it means accepting them, then working to overcome them however you can. And by doing so, she saved numerous lives from Gwi-Ma's wrath, which definitely earns her our gold medal of good. And for a close second, we have to give Zoe the silver medal of good. While Rumi is the most admirably heroic character, Zoe is the most outwardly sweet in the movie's ensemble cast. She's the kind of person who's friendly, even to the demons she's literally in the process of killing, making her someone who both saves lives and has fun doing it. One particularly telling moment of hers came from the Saja Boys' debut, where she said they seemed like nice demons.
It almost seems like they're nice demons?
Demons are never nice!
The fact that she believes even demons can be nice goes to show how caring and open-minded she is. Of course, that may have been partially due to her having a crush on them, earning her our Lust Sinner medal. The worst thing that we can say about Zoe is that she tends to be a bit of a people-pleaser, and even then, this never leads to her doing anything bad. It even gives her determination to keep her friends together, helping diffuse fights between Rumi and Mira, and always keeping peace wherever she can. And the same can be said for the winner of our bronze medal of good, Bobby. Bobby is Huntrix's manager, and they absolutely struck gold with this guy. And speaking of gold, we have to talk about how generous this guy is. In one scene, Bobby passively remarks that the girls pay him 3% of their earnings. And I was just curious, so I googled it, and usually managers make at least 10% of their clients' earnings. The fact that 3% is enough to keep Bobby motivated points out just how much he truly cares for them as people, and not just commodities. And that goes double for the fact that when Gwi-Ma gains access to the human realm, he's able to manipulate Bobby by saying he failed to keep the girls together. Gwi-Ma preys on people's shame and insecurities, so the fact that this is how he attacked Bobby shows that Huntrix was always more important to him than the money. It's very sweet, and it makes Bobby seem more like a sort of father figure than just a manager. And closing out our good section is the last of Huntrix's team, Mira. Mira was ostracized from her family for being labeled a problem child, but in her own words, that worked out for her because now she's getting paid for her bold personality. Mira is extremely perceptive, sometimes to an aggressive extent. This can manifest itself in really good ways, from being determined to protect people from demons to sensing when her friends are hiding something from her. It can also lead to some negative attributes though, like staring so hard back at a doctor that he backs away like a scared puppy. We're giving Mira the Wrath Center medal for her aggressive personality. But there is much more to her than that. She genuinely loves Zoe, Rumi, and Bobby like family. She's always happy to spend time with them and is moved to tears at the end of the movie when Rumi finally agrees to go to a bathhouse with them, even if she can get argumentative. That comes with being both a rebel K-pop star and a demon hunter. For all her heroism, we think she still deserves a high spot in the list. But with that said, it's time to move into more neutral, questionable territory. These characters fall in the gray area, and Celine is first up in this section. As Huntrix's mentor, she taught the girls to be proper demon hunters. never letting their faults and fears be seen by the public in order to strengthen the Hunmoon to its fullest capacity. Now, I don't know about y'all, but the moment Zoe regurgitated that lesson of hers, I automatically knew they were going to need to reevaluate it. Celine has every reason to have pride in her girl's role as hunters, for which she gets the Pride Center Medal, and we'll give her some grace knowing that she's doing the best that she can. That said, that doesn't change the fact that she directly told her adoptive daughter that she could never fully be herself until she successfully made the Golden Hunmoon. It's no wonder Rumi became so stressed out about finishing her duty with guidance like that. While we give her credit for the amount of lives she saved, her shortcomings as a mother definitely lose her some points. In a less questionable, more neutral way, the tiger is up next. One of those characters who's both adorable and very unsettling. This tiger appears as a means of Jinwoo inviting Rumi to talk about the whole being part demon thing. As far as demon familiars go, he seems pretty polite, spending like a solid minute trying to pick up a flower pot he knocked down by accident. He's friendly towards Rumi, even hanging out in her room sometimes. But since his clumsiness nearly exposes her secrets to Mira, we do have to give him the Darwin Center Medal. The tiger's innocent, but it's not like he's saving lives or anything. He's just a relatively harmless demon pet. On the other hand, the crow is a little more questionable. Like the tiger, he's a simple familiar used to do whatever Jinwoo needs him to. But he's also guilty of stealing the hat that Jinwoo made, especially for his tiger. Granted, it was a little small for the tiger, but still. For his truly heinous crime, he gets the Envy Center Medal and a slightly lower spot than his coworker. And closing out the gray area is the doctor. A minor character Huntrix visits when Rumi is having trouble with her voice. He's more than happy to treat some of his many idols. Unfortunately, his treatment is little more than grape juice pouches with his own personalized stickers on them. Zoe meant well when she recommended this guy, and in all honesty, it didn't seem like he was trying to scam them or anything. Maybe he was just going for the placebo effect. Like, yeah, the real tonic was inside you all along. That's great and all, but if that's the case, maybe refund them. Hopefully Huntrix's healthcare plan covered this. But without further ado, it's time to enter full-on villain territory. These characters are the bad and the evil. And the bronze medal of evil has to go to the most prominent villain in the movie, Jinwoo. And Jinwoo is a perfect example of a villain with some sympathetic characteristics, but not enough to take away from him being heinous. When he first opens up about his past, we find out that he was once a kind man who tried playing music to make money for his starving mother and sister, a life that was hard and gave very little payoff. Because of this, he jumped at the Demon King Gwi-Ma's offer to make him a success in the king's courts in exchange for him being well fed and comfortable. What Jinwoo conveniently left out was that in accepting this offer, he left his mother and kid sister on their own, abandoning them and leaving them to an even worse life of poverty without even his limited provision. In service of Gwi-Ma, Jinwoo would harvest souls for hundreds of years, even becoming a trusted advisor of the Demon Lord. He was the one who came up with the idea of creating a demon boy band to gain influence over Huntrix fans, and he did so in exchange for a truly selfish motive: to be rid of the memories of his own betrayal. Not to save his family, not to undo how he'd betrayed them, but just to make himself feel less bad about it. Thankfully, he isn't all bad. In the end, his connection with Rumi allowed him to feel sympathy for others again, realizing that in order to be free, he would need to finally act selflessly. He actually did this by taking the brunt of Gwi-Ma's attack, saving Rumi's life and reclaiming his own soul as a result. But while his final moments were admirable, they don't undo all of the horribly selfish things he did throughout his life. They only keep him from being considered truly, purely evil. While we don't know nearly as much about them, the silver medalists of evil are the Sasa boys. Whatever their backstories are, whether they're tragic or despicable, one thing sets the other demons apart from Jinwoo. They didn't have any selfless acts of redemption. Combined with their lifestyles of deceiving people to harvest their souls, this lands them low on our list by default.
I love you guys!
Let's not forget that these demons were once humans, so this isn't just a case of monsters hunting humans. It's a case of former humans hunting their own kind. They know what it's like to be tortured souls, and they're more than happy to inflict that on others to make their lives a little bit more convenient. But even then, there's one big, pink, fiery factor that keeps them from being considered the most evil: But first, this video is brought to you by WickedBinge channel memberships. You can gain access to our videos early before anyone else, plus get members-only emojis and loyalty badges by supporting the channel through a membership. And that's the fact that their boss, Gwi-Ma, is the one pulling all the strings. And when I say all, I do mean all. We see firsthand with Jinwoo that Gwi-Ma controls demons by constantly whispering their deepest fears, insecurities, and regrets in order to keep them serving. They serve him because of his ability to physically obliterate and psychologically torture them whenever he's in the mood for it. From incinerating the coffee demon after the first fight scene, to threatening Jinwoo with even louder voices in his head. That would already be enough to cement Gwi-Ma as the most evil character in the movie, but he outdoes himself even more by recruiting the most vulnerable people as his servants. Jinwoo, for instance, was an impoverished man struggling and failing to provide for his family. Then, near the end of the movie, he almost succeeds in bringing Mira, Zoe, and even the legendary Bobby to his side by preying on their despair. Gwi-Ma is pure evil in every sense of the word. And the worst part about all of his evil is that he's literally just doing it to fatten himself up. The gluttony center medal couldn't go to anyone more fitting than a guy who forces people to constantly feed him souls. Heck, if he's so strong, why doesn't he just go get food himself? That is worth the sloth center medal too. So chew on that, Gwi-Ma, because with the new Han Moon around the world, it's the last thing you'll be chewing on for a long time.